Your question's a really good one because it was immensely frustrating for me. I think what's happening in the Six Nations is they've taken a number of referees out of the system because obviously if England are playing France, they can have an Irish ref or a Scottish ref for that. And the quality of the Northern Hemisphere refs who have been reffing this over this last weekend, I thought was very poor. And apart from Andrew Brace in the game, and even he made a mistake because Oxenshire definitely scored a try, and for some reason he thought that he'd lost control of the ball. But just in general, the decisions that are made in the same game, there was the Stormers, Nell gets sent off for a high challenge. When you see it in slow motion, he hits him shoulder to shoulder, he's bent at the waist, and he's wrapping his arms. It's a good hit. It's not even a yellow card. It's not even a penalty. It's play on, and the ref should have played on because the Stormers were on their way to score a try. Instead, he argues a red card first. It has to be the TMO who brings him down to a yellow, and it cost the Stormers the game. 5 minutes after that, the player of the game, according to the Irish commentators, shoulder charges Evan Roos without using his arms at all. They don't even go. Yeah. They don't even go back to it. Yeah. There's not even a penalty. There's nothing. But there's no wrapping of the arms. He hits him with a tucked shoulder. Nothing. There were incidences in the driving maul. Province had, huge momentum in the driving maul in the first half. Zero momentum in the second half because Connaught were able to illegally stop the driving maul right in front of the referee who didn't penalise them. So unbelievably frustrating for South African teams who've been used to, I think, quite good refereeing here in South Africa. We've been quite complimentary about our South African refs, and I must admit, the ones we've seen overseas have not been good. In particular, the guy, and you ref the Bulls in their opening game against Connaught, and I know Jake was very upset about that game as well. So I think it's his second professional game, and he battled. So we shouldn't be getting guys in the learning process in a competition which counts at the end of the season for European Cup and Heineken Cup qualifications.
Shimi, what should be the way forward? I mean, this is not the first time we discuss referees and rugby in general. I mean, at times we would say, when we play in the Southern Hemisphere Super Rugby, by the time the Boks go end of the year tours up, but they blow the breakdown differently. Every other sport, the laws, the rules are the same, regardless you play in wind, you play in... What should be the way forward for rugby? Because what I experienced this weekend as a guy sitting at home, and I worried in the next 20, 30 years, this product that we're trying to sell week in, week out with sponsors, with all sorts, just might, fall apart from a spectator point of view.
And you got to look at the evaluation process and how a ref actually ends up with that whistle in the middle of the field. He doesn't put himself there. He's selected, he's there, and you even watch it with domestic rugby. Sometimes you watch a guy from under 21 rugby who's not really a great ref. Next thing you watch this guy reffing a big Currie Cup game, and the guy bombs out. And chances are you could have said that before the game, that this guy's not good enough to be reffing a game of this magnitude. So that's one issue. Who puts these guys there? And if you put a young ref, then have experience around him. Have a good assistant refs, have an experienced TMO to guide him through the process. So it's not a learning curve, like Nick said, throughout this process. What baffles me, and also sat at home, you watch the games, you watch the New Zealand Super Rugby games, they let a lot go. You watch that, you think, are they going to go upstairs for another high tackle? Or they let a lot go at the breakdown, in the tackle, entering rucks from the side. And in South Africa, I think the set piece is ref quite strictly. So coming back to the Stormers game, you think from a South African, with your South African refereeing point of view, it's a penalty in the scrum. I mean, I heard the commentator saying the Stormers got penalised for being too aggressive on the hit. I mean, I was like, well, hold on. How can you get penalised for being too aggressive on a hit?
So that's my challenge, Shim. You said, we watch Super Rugby in the morning.
It's different.
You watch, and then you watch in the afternoon. You watch Six Nations. It's all just different. So I see your opinion.
Yeah, my viewpoint on... I tell you guys, we spoke about it earlier, it's too many scrum halves that when they stop, they become refs. I don't know.
The attitude of a scrum half is a cheeky
and they've got attitude, scrum half and hookers shouldn't be refs. Now, on a serious note, it's very frustrating. Even in that test, when Wales had that overthrow, there was a reason for the overthrow. No one went up. I'll show you later. It's to add to what Nick is saying. And then that one scrum, in the England scrum, 3 times the scrum took 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 40 seconds on the same spot to eventually have a decision. And then when he gave the penalty, he was so confused, you'll see, he gave it first to the wrong side. So somewhere, guys, I think we can simplify the ruck. No one is allowed on the ground. The ball carrier, the tackler and the carrier go down. No guesses. Let us get ourselves 20 years back when the Brumbies were so good. You coached it against them and Rod McQueen and those guys. I was in a symposium down in Cape Town where we decided anyone that goes down is going to get hit. We saw most brilliant rugby you can get or ask for. But what changed it again? It is pressure again from the defensive sides. Let's steal, let's get turnovers. Because, Shami, you referred to that. Down in New Zealand, they let it go.
Yeah.
They let the attack go a lot.
Yeah.
And if you give the advantage and a carry to the attack, so I see firstly, if I'm got turned his shoulders and I go forward, I need the quick ball from the ref, and he must protect me.
Yeah.
You mustn't think of Nick and Shimmy to steal my ball. If that's the thinking, we'll never fix it. We've got to. That's my opinion.
Very true. But it all comes back. You said, how do we control it? They're refereeing managers. And the refereeing manager of the URC at the moment is Tapa Henning, who was the refereeing manager at Scotland. He's a South African, obviously. We know him well from South Africa. And his job is to get consistency amongst all the refereeing in his competition. He's only been in the job for 3 months, but anyone out there who's listening who knows Tapa, tell him he's got a hard job to do, because honestly, those guys are nowhere near at the level that we require for a competition of this quality. And when you say that in the rugby that's played down there, Super Rugby Championship, it's their rugby managers who are saying to their referees, guys, we want a good product. We want people to go and watch rugby. So don't start nitpicking around these little issues and slow the game down and break it down. We want some tries. They love the 34-32 Hurricanes against whatever it was, the Crusaders game, or the Blues it was the Blues game.
You like that type of rugby, Shimmy?
No, but you remember, Owen, I think last year when they started nitpicking, they had 100 penalties, I think. Yeah. And it lasted one weekend because they ref to the letter of the law. So it's getting the balance between the two. From a South African point of view, we build pressure through our set piece. Now, if you've got a ref that's going to let that go and let players fall over and you stop mauls illegally, then our game plan falls out completely. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened with the Stormers. We saw the Lions actually scrum pretty well. And that was pretty clear and obvious. The ref couldn't question that, So we sort of build pressure through that. And whereas you find the Irish teams build a lot more pressure through attack, throwing the ball around, a lot of passes and so on. So it's refed according to that. So set piece, I'd watched quite a lot of games the one weekend and I realized that they actually don't give away a lot of set piece penalties because the ref, they're more listening. Get that ball in the scrum, get the ball in and out. Yeah. Get the maul, they don't maul a lot. You look at Leinster, get the ball in and out, let's go. But as soon as it becomes a contest, that's where they're short. They don't understand what's going on. You watch New Zealand rugby also. You watch, I think, Crusaders Hurricanes last week. The first maul, I think, was after 50, 60 minutes. Yeah, now you come back to international rugby, how are they going to learn how to stop mauls and the grind and the hard pace? So there's benefits to both styles of rugby, but I think from a South African point of view, if you look at test match rugby, we're probably more suited to that grind than other countries.
All right, talk